Good day to you, and even though you're probably watching this past today, a very Merry Christmas Eve to all of you that celebrate Christmas. I know I look stupid with a winter hat on inside the house, but that just tells you how freaking cold it is outside. Yesterday's video I showed you what the winter storm did. This morning I had to go out and scrape off the ice on my car, so I had to move it so they could plow the parking lot. It was 2 below this morning, so I was freezing cold. So today I'm going to be talking about 2 different presidents, our 12th and 13th presidents. So we'll start with number 12. His name is Zachary Taylor. He served from 1849 to 1850, and his vice president was Millard Fillmore, who was the vice president, of course, as I just said. So star shadow, there's your vice president. Pay attention. So here's a picture of Zachary Taylor. He was obviously a military man. So we'll get rid of that, and then we'll have to look up this 13th president so I can show you what he looked like. So, March 5th, 1849, Zachary Taylor was inaugurated. May 1st, 1850 was the Compromise of 1850. Congress debates about possible slavery into states that were part of the Mexican territory. And Henry Clay proposes the Compromise. Daniel Webster and Stephen Douglas led the supporters against opponents around the opponents were around John C. Calhoun of South Carolina. July 9th, 1850, Zachary Taylor died. So he was like the second shortest president in office. May, June, July. So he was in office for just over 2 months. The cause of death was cholera morbus, and he was the second, like I just said, second president to die in office. And Millard Fillmore automatically becomes president, which I talked about in the other one. He caught the illness from the ceremony of the Washington Monument on July 4th when he was sitting outside for hours in the baking sun. So he did get one thing done during his presidency, and that was the Compromise of 1850. So now we need to look up Millard Fillmore, who was our 13th president. So if you give me just a brief moment of your time, if I can spell his name correctly, and I will show you a picture of Millard Fillmore, who was the last to be a member of the Whig Party while in the White House. Oh, he looks like an interesting guy. Okay, so this is Millard Fillmore. That's a picture of him. Okay, so he served from 1850 to 1853. And during his time in office, the vice presidency was vacant. So he didn't have a vice president. July 9th, 1850, Zachary Taylor died, which I already mentioned. July 10th, 1850, Millard Fillmore was inaugurated. Judge William Cranch administered the oath. Knowing how Fillmore felt about the compromise, his entire cabinet resigned, and he fills the seats with the Whig Party, including Daniel Webster as Secretary of State. August 6, 1850, Fillmore supports the Compromise of 1850. He recommends Texas be paid to abandon claims to part of New Mexico. That was during the Wilmot Proviso, which called for all land received from Mexican War be closed to slavery, and the Wilmot Proviso was to be overturned. I can't talk very well. California becomes a state at that time. It was the 31st and free state. New Mexico and the Texas border were established, and the Utah border was established. September 18th, 1850, the Fugitive Slave Bill prohibits individuals from aiding runaway slaves and threatens fines and imprisonment to those who do. Escaped slaves are returned to their owners and they're denied a jury trial. September 20th, 1850, the Compromise of 1850 passes, written by Kentucky Senator Henry Clay, who I know I've already talked about. The slave trade was abolished in Washington, D.C., and territories were divided along the 37th parallel from north and south. So now we're slowly inching our way towards the Civil War. September 28th, 1850, Brigham Young becomes governor. So the president, he was the president of the Mormons and the governor of Utah. He leads thousands of disciples from Illinois to Salt Lake City, and he died in 1877. October 24th, 1850, National Women's Rights Convention. So I think this was the second one. It was held in Worcester, Massachusetts, and please forgive me if I'm saying that name wrong. I know that they pronounce words a little bit differently up there. Discusses employment opportunities, political and legal rights, property rights after marriage, and education for women, especially in medicine. January 2nd, 1851, the treaty with El Salvador. It was the first commercial treaty, and during the same day, 3-cent pieces, which were the smallest coin in weight and thickness, and that begins facilitating postal payments. June 5th, 1851, Uncle Tom's Cabin is published. Written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. First installment was in the National Era. The book form appears on March 20th of 1852. Later on, Abraham Lincoln, who we'll get into much later, called her the woman who started the Civil War. And Uncle Tom's Cabin became a play in New York by George Aiken in 1853. So I can kind of understand why that would be considered part of history, but what I don't understand is what's coming up in a couple highlights here. So July 25th, 1851, gold is discovered in Oregon, and it was discovered along the Rogue River. So November 14th, 1851, Moby Dick was published. So the first American edition was by Melville Herman, and that was published, the edition was published in 1851, but it doesn't become accepted for 70 years. So that's probably where you're screaming at your screens going, no, it couldn't have been 1851, it was after that. It was because it didn't become accepted for 70 years after that. So that might be in a later video. June 1st, 1852, the Democratic National Convention nominates Franklin Pierce. Pierce is from New Hampshire, and they nominated the Vice President, William R. King, from Alabama. June 16th, 1852, the Whigs nominate General Winfield Scott from New Jersey, and William Graham of North Carolina was the Vice President nominee. August 24th, 1852, Marx publishes in the New York Tribune. Karl Marx, German exile living in London, makes his first appearance with a series called Revolution and Counter-Revolution. And he wrote many other articles after that. November 1st, 1852, Democrats gain the seats. They gained 3 Senate seats, 38 to 22 over the Whigs, and 19 seats in the House of Representatives, 159 to 71. A side note here, Whig leaders Henry Clay and Daniel Webster died in 1852. Henry Clay died in June of 1852, and Daniel Webster died October of 1852. November 2nd, 1852, Franklin Pierce was elected with William R. King as his vice president. So we'll be talking about them tomorrow, or rather Saturday, because tomorrow's Christmas. March 2nd, 1853, Washington Territory established. So the rail service that had been going from New York to Illinois was expanded to Utah and was finished in May of 1869. March 4th, 1853, Pierce appoints James Campbell as the Postmaster General, and he was from Pennsylvania. People need to stop texting me. My apologies. Okay, so I did a little bit of research about, because I was starting to get curious, when did we become Democrats and Republicans? So I did some research on this. So from 1800 to 1829, we had the Democratic Republican Party and then the Federalists. They split in 1828, so it became the Federalist, National Republican, and Democratic parties. And then the Democrats and Whigs were evenly balanced in the 1830s and 1840s, and the Whigs became obsolete by the 1850s. So that's a little bit of history on how we became Democrats and Republicans, and what happened to the Whigs and what happened to the Federalists. Because we've been talking about that. Of course, the Federalists haven't been mentioned lately, and I was always curious because in my research it doesn't say when the Republicans and Democrats separated from being Democratic Republicans to either Democrat or Republican. So there's your history for the day. So I have been told that these kinds of things are not being taught in schools nowadays, so I'm glad that I decided to choose to do this. Now, I'm not saying, I haven't done the research on this, but I'm not saying that other people haven't done videos on past presidents, but I just wanted to bring this information to you because after watching Hamilton, as I've been saying, I found it fascinating about history. I never was good at history. I never cared about it much in school. But the older I got, the more interested I got in educating myself on different subjects. So if I were to go back to school now, I probably would still fail because they're teaching things so much differently nowadays. Like math was never a good subject of mine. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on the two presidents. The reason I combined them, obviously, was because the one only served for a year. And so Saturday, Franklin Pierce will be the only president that I do that day. His list is a little bit more extensive, so hopefully I'll be able to get it in within 18 and a half minutes. Let me see where my time is at to see if I can show you what it looks like outside. Oh, again, at 12 and a half minutes. So because yesterday I showed you what the weather was doing outside, pardon me for the shaky camera work, this is what it looks like after the storm. It doesn't look like there was much snow. Of course, they've already plowed the parking lot. This is on my window. And it looks like this side doesn't look so much, but that snow here is in between the screen and the glass. So if I were to open the window, the snow would come inside my apartment. So, and that's my air conditioning unit. So you can see the snow kind of builds up from there because the wind was whipping so bad. And now you can see the cars on the highway. And they're going a lot faster today. So, and of course it's a sunny sky today, so that's good, but it is very, very cold out today. So that's what it looks like in Minnesota after a major storm. So, again, I'd like to welcome all of you. I forgot to say this at the beginning. My name is Chloe, and if you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload a new video. And go back and watch some of my older videos. Some of them are travel videos. Some of them are just vlog videos about different subjects. Some of them are about my dog, which I'm wearing that sweatshirt today. I miss my dog very much. I had to put him down in April, for those of you that are new. Excuse me. And some of them are Irish-related videos. When I was doing Irish dancing a few years ago, did Irish dancing for 3 years. So, in any case, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining me during my journey. Hopefully next year by this time I will be in a much warmer climate, far away from the frozen tundra of Minnesota. So, I hope you guys all have a great holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate at this time of year. Christmas, Ramadan. Actually, I don't know if Ramadan is at this time of year. Hanukkah. I don't know. Whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope you enjoy or enjoy your holiday. Of course, we've got New Year's coming up, and everybody celebrates New Year's. So we'll be wishing you a Happy New Year's next week. So glad that you joined me. Glad that you're enjoying these presidential highlight videos. So you guys have a sunny day, and we'll see you on Saturday, not tomorrow, for Franklin Pierce and his vice president, and all the information about our 14th president. So class is dismissed. Have a sunny day.